Hello there and welcome to Fresh to Death Comics. I'm your host, B. Luke. I'm back. It's been a while. I miss you guys. How have you been? It has been crazy over here on this side of the earphones. Everything was going well. I bought a whole bunch of mics and a studio board and everything. We had everything hooked up. But traveling between my partner Amy's house and then my apartment, and then Brian Jones, it was just too much. And then my apartment building, they were doing construction over the summer, so it was impossible to film anything. We literally tried. We sat down there, and we tried doing an episode, and it was just too loud. So needless to say, we are in a brand new studio space. We bought a house, me and Amy. And so we converted downstairs here to a studio. So mics are all set up. We've got everything going. I have this whole plan of what this is going to be. I want to do kind of like a live stream, and I have all this built up, and it's been a while. And I'm like, I just need to sit down and record something. A test. You guys actually want to hear something. So I thought there was a few topics I've been reading and I thought we should talk about. So this is just going to be a quick little video, quick little check-in on you guys. What are you guys reading? What are you guys excited about? The X-Men books have been outrageous. That whole thing, I never know. I know what's going on, but if you haven't been reading X-Men, it is topsy-turvy over there with the X-Lives and X-Deaths of Wolverine. I know Brian really enjoyed that, and he has me reading it, and I'm just like, this thing is a train wreck. Like, it's really cool, certain things, like Romulus pops up. If you don't know who Romulus is, that's Wolverine's dad. So, he makes an appearance after, I haven't seen him in forever, since the Wolverine Origins books. So that was cool. But, in all honesty, I don't know, these X-Men books... When these new number ones start hitting the shelves here, I hope there's some new lifeblood in it, because the books have just dragged. Like the Hellfire Gala was like the best thing that happened. That was last year. There hasn't been a good X-Men book in a year. That is disappointing to me. So, so one of the things I want to talk about, Spider-Man is going to come out with a new number one in a couple of weeks here. And if you haven't been reading Spider-Man, this last issue of this Beyond series, oh my God, it was amazing. So if you haven't been reading, Ben Reilly is back. The clone Spider-Man, Spider-Man's clone, he's back, and he's... I can be Spider-Man again. I can try. But he sucks as Spider-Man. Every time I read Ben Reilly, I'm like, you are no way Peter Parker. Like, I know you're not the clone. The choices that you make, the decisions that you do are in no way reflective of how Peter thinks or acts. So he is a flawed Peter Parker. When people, I will fight that to the death about that. But anyway, Ben Reilly's back. He's working for the Beyond Corporation, and they have hired him to be the new Spider-Man. So that's cool for Ben. He gets a paycheck, and he gets to tell Peter Parker Spider-Man to go fuck off. He's the new Spider-Man. So, of course he's going to say yes, but Ben's like, I have to ask permission first. He's not asking permission. He already has the suit on. You already made a decision, dude. You're going to be Spider-Man. You're just causing a fight because you can is really what it is. You got the costume, and now you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to do this. I just want you to know that I'm going to do this. Ha ha. You're just rubbing it in his face. And that's kind of a dick move. So Ben Reilly, you are a douchebag of the day. So anyway, Spider-Man is... They injure Peter Parker. There's an explosion. And so now he is in the hospital, so Ben Reilly can take over fully as Spider-Man. Now, the hospital stuff, when Kelly Thompson is writing it, it is so accurate and crazy of how adults are treated in a hospital. If you are not married or living with your parents, the hospital considers you to be the only person they need to talk to. So if you are not doing well, if you don't really know what's going on, because no one knows what's going on except for what you tell them. So if you are in the hospital and you're like, yeah, I'm doing okay, I can't wait to go see my friend Greg and hang out with all my dogs at home, and you're like, dude, he never had a friend named Greg, and he hates dogs. He's not okay. The hospital doesn't care. So the fact that they showed Peter Parker, like, they're just rubbing him off, just being like, and I should say rubbing him off. That sounds terrible. They're just basically going through the motions, going, he'll get better, maybe not. We don't know what to do, nor do we care. Is such an accurate description of how the hospital system works. Because if you are married or you live with your parents and your parents are there at the hospital, they're there fighting for you. But once you don't live in that house anymore and you're just a family member coming to visit, you no longer have any say really over their condition. And that's kind of messed up in our Medical Society of America. And Telly Thompson got that down perfect. So sorry for that sidetrack. So Ben Reilly has been Peter Parker for like the last so many issues now. And with the Beyond Corporation, it's hit highs and lows. But this last arc here, Ben Reilly finds out they've been messing with his memories. And the Beyond Corporation took out his Uncle Ben memories. And so we're watching a Spider-Man right now who has no memories of Uncle Ben. So like this, what would Peter Parker be without Uncle Ben? I'm interested in this story. I'd like to see where this goes. But where does this continue? Because at the end of this latest issue of Spider-Man, there's a big old fight and brawl, and it becomes that Ben Reilly is going to become this new Spider-Man villain called Chasm. And it looks fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it looks like the anti-Venom suit, that white suit, except it's purple and it kind of glows. It is amazing. And this is his whole premise of like a Peter Parker without Uncle Ben. And it blows my mind. I love it. The fact that like they're making something cool with Ben Reilly, because I hate the character of Ben Reilly. Spider-Man, so this new #1 series, Zeb Wells is writing it, and he wrote this last arc as well. And, you know, I love Zeb Wells. He writes it out of the park. Does a terrific job with it. And that's what I think I love the most. The way Zeb Wells writes a comic book is unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, he doesn't pull any stops. It's like he takes the bits and jokes he does in Robot Chicken and adds them to the real universe. Like, hey, I know we made fun of this, but let's address this issue. Let's talk about these jokes I've made for so long. And it just shows somebody who really gets Spider-Man and really gets comics. Because we all know things don't change. Things are going to... But we can just spice it up just for a little bit, make it entertaining. I'm on board. I'm here. Let's do some more Frankencastles. Let's go do some more fun things. All right. So here's the second topic of today. I've been noticing an increased amount of deaths of pets in the comics in the last few years. Donny Cates, I feel, is like one of the first ones to really kill a pet when he killed bats in the Doctor Strange. And it's always been like, whoa, how didn't people yell at him? And how did he not get canceled for killing bats? But okay, cool, you know. I mean, I hate dogs, so I was all fine with that one. But I was reading a Ghost Rider, and it's a phenomenal series. I have a hard time with it because I relate so much to what Johnny Blaze is going through. He was in some kind of accident and has lost some of his memories, and he has a little bit of brain damage. And being someone who is in an accident and having brain damage, memories are hard. Like, to prepare for this show, I had to read these issues like 2 and 3 times to, you know, remember all the important details. And even then, like, trying to remember Chasm's name is just, it makes it frustrating. It makes it hard to do things. And so the way Benjamin Percy writes somebody with a brain injury is very interesting. I mean, there's some things he gets wrong, but there's certain things like I feel like he doesn't really go into depth. So there's a part where they ask about the headaches, and he's like, the headaches are always ongoing. Gosh, that got to me. I'm like, if I don't have a headache, I'm dizzy. If it's not something, I'm something else. Like, so when people ask how I am, I'm just okay. I'm doing okay. I'm making it through today. If I'm not doing well, if I'm like, today's a bad day. Today is a bad day. There's no questions about that. So in this new town that Johnny's living in, the neighbor has a dog that is very yappy. And that is the one thing I don't like about this new house is I have a neighbor next door. She is a delightful lady. Like, I haven't talked to her too much, but I've seen her. We've smiled. We waved. She seems very nice. She doesn't yell. She's a very, I'm going to stay to myself person, but she has a dog. And that dog is, I don't know, he's a small, yappy dog, and I think he saw an ant and wants to bark at an ant, or he sees a leaf and thinks it's a bird. Like, I was outside in my own garage doing stuff, and he runs over, like, because I can see him through the window, and the window's open. He runs to the window to yell at me through the fence, and I'm looking at him, and I just go, fuck off, and he runs away. And I have not had to deal with the dog since then. When the dog sees me, he runs away. So I think I've done a good job, but he's still out there barking. He's out there yelling at people, yelling at leaves and birds, and I don't know what he's yelling at. I think he sometimes yells at his own shadow. But I think I can no, because of this book, I can no longer murder this dog because it's gonna go on me. Because that's what they did in Ghost Rider. Johnny Blaze murders a dog. He puts his dog and puts it in the mailbox, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could do that so bad. I get that. But also there's consequences. If I did that, I'd end up in jail and a fine, and gosh, my life would be so terrible if I was to do something like that. But they just write it off in this book. They murder a dog and nothing happens. Nothing. Everything is fine. Like, the cop stops and he's like, oh, hey, I murdered a dog. And it's, I'm noticing a trend in Marvel books that they're killing animals willy-nilly without any regard to laws, how people feel. Like, if I was a pet lover, if I showed my neighbor that book, she would be mortified. She would be in tears. Unless she secretly hates the dog too, but then just get rid of it. I'm just saying, if you love pets, like, Marvel does not give a fuck about you. Another example, Kelly Thompson is Captain Marvel. They started a brand new arc this past week. It was the last week of March. Great book. It's great. This new binary character that Carol Danvers somehow made a binary character of herself, so like a clone. I don't understand how it works yet. If you guys can understand it and explain it to me, that'd be helpful. Because I don't understand how she created somebody. Like, I know it had to do with the Vox Supreme suits and that she like overpowered it somehow. But it's a little convoluted for me and a little out there. But anyway, it's great. But but binary is like new to this world, and she's discovering things, and she's like, oh, can I talk to these kids? They're in a diner, and Carol's like, sure, go talk to the kids. And the kids have this cat. His name is Dumpling, and and Binary's holding the cat, and she's like, ooh, I like the way it vibrates. And I'm like, that's cute and adorable. How wonderful. And then the bad guys come, blow some shit up. Everything happens. And then the cat's dead. Dumpling is dead. Marvel, in a span of a couple of weeks, have murdered 2 pets. And I get people die, but why is it always animals dying when we're seeing things? And we have this whole crying funeral for the cat, and it is emotional. And that's why I draw the distinction. Like, I was laughing with Johnny Blaze book. But if you're a dog lover, like I am a cat lover, I was weeping in this Captain Marvel book. I was so upset that they killed Dumpling. And it just kind of broke my heart of like how Marvel is just murdering animals willy-nilly because, they can get away with it, or it's not an actual person that they, I just don't understand the disregard for the animal life. Like, Kelly Thompson did. If you're gonna kill a pet, she did a funeral. She brought awareness, I guess. But with Ben Percy's and the murdering of the dog, I mean, I thought it was a little out there. But maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just looking at things crazily. I just think sometimes we're just murdering things in comics to get that spark reaction out of people. And I don't think we should be doing that in comics. We should be, you know, doing something else other than murdering pets. I don't know why that's the go-to. I need to make this scene really sad. Let's see, I can't throw a person in there. I like dogs. Let's murder a dog. And is it for the blog? Is it so people like me will sit on this podcast and yell at them and be like, "How dare you kill a dog and a cat?" I don't know. I went on a little bit of a ramble, but it's just a thought, just a inkling of a trend I'm noticing, if you will. I'm going to keep on reading books and noticing if they keep on doing it, but I don't know. There's a lot of comics out there. So let's just switch paces altogether. I think let's talk about something happier. There's this new indie book out called We Live by the Miranda Brothers. It is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I have a hard time reading physical books. With the brain injury, I have a hard time finding where to go within panels. So reading physical books have been a little bit tougher. So I sat down. Upstairs I have this nice little thinking reading chair I've kind of made. It's delightful. I've got my grandmother's light I shine on, just the first one. So there's just a little bit of light. I have this like whole omniscience of reading comics. So I was like, all right, I'm in the zone. Took me a couple hours to read it. Got through it. Let me just say, We Live. When you buy... So let me just explain We Live. I know it's a series that's gone on for a little while, so I know I'm missing some pieces. But this new number one that came out, I'm reading it as a new reader. So if you don't know We Live as well, don't worry. We're all on this journey together. I didn't want to get this book. The owner of Corning Comic Shop, Josh, he was like, "Yo, you should check this book out. I think it's going to do good things." And I was like, I don't know anything about We Live. I don't know about the Miranda Brothers. I get, you know how many indie books and how many books I get in a week? I don't have time nor the desire to read another indie book. But here we are. Of all these indie books that I have, we're talking about We Live. The reason is because this book is not just a masterpiece of what comics can be and what will be. It is a testament of a true love of comics. Aftershock puts out this book, and there's two different versions of it. You'll see it says We Live, the Age of Paladins, and the side will say number one, and then it says white. And this is the same thing, except the other one says black. And you're like, oh, it must be just the white cover and the black cover. No, my friends, they are two different stories. Told from this, like, it's the same story told from different perspectives. So I suggest you could start with whatever way you want. You could read the black first and then read the white. There is no right answer. I think you should start with the white first. Just that's how I started off because I was trying to figure it out myself. You open up the front cover. It shows this tree, and it says, "The day has arrived, my deepest fears, I will meet you now." And the tree's great. But then if you open up the black book, "My deepest hopes float like ashes in the wind, bring me a tomorrow." And that tree is on fucking fire, my friends. The tree is engulfed. It is all with flames. So you're like, what happened? So I read white first. White is the soldier's point of view, the people's point of view, if you will. And in this book, there is a QR code. And it is amazing because it will link you to original music to listen to while you're reading the comic or reading that certain section. And it is amazing. Very rarely, I can think of Sex Criminals that told us to listen to it. I know Jason Aaron does it a few times in his book, like, oh, this song was playing on the jukebox. And Alan Moore, when he does like the V for Vendetta and he talks about the music. But I've never had, like, and now we're in this age of like, hey, just throw a QR code, it'll pop up and it's original music. So it's not like, oh, here's a Guardians playlist to listen to while you listen to it. It's original music made for this series. To paint the picture of what this world's like. It's beautiful. And I'm in for this journey full haul. And the story itself, so like I said, the white story is the soldier's point of view, the people on the ground. They're trying to understand life and trying to understand what's going on and how we should do things. The Black Book's point of view is telling it from the Paladin's story, like the superhero part of it. So it's kind of interesting when you have like this, like, so We Live Black is more of the superheroes version of it, how they're seeing the world, like what they're doing, what we don't know about. And the white version is the people, the just the average everyday soldier or parent or just the average person who isn't up there with the military being like, man, I didn't know this was coming. You're just like, yo, why is this section being closed off? Why are you not telling us? What? And maybe it's just the whole Ukraine situation where, Russia's telling their own side of the news and we have our side of the news, and you're just like, man, those people inside of Russia, like, what do they actually believe is going on? I would love to talk to somebody like who's deep in there, who's like, because what the Kremlin tells, and so that's what I love about this is two different stories where they're just like, we don't know what's going on, man. They told us to go out here, and now there's this big monster out there. What is going on? And they're like, oh. The other side, like, okay, we see this threat, we're throwing the superheroes in. Just tell the people that it's just a training exercise. And you're like, it's not a training exercise. This is a real thing. So I think it's really cool, and it's something that I haven't seen in comics in a long time, is this sense of world building and really connecting us. And on top of that, in the We Live Black book, the Paladins, the superheroes have these like trading cards of like how the heroes used to be. And at your local comic book shop, they will sell you those cards. They have them for sale. Just ask for them. It is amazing that you can get these trading cards that they have in the comics and have them in real life. I just think when you bring things that you have in your comics into the real world as you're reading them is really cool, and it helps you build a fan base. And that's really what this book is doing, is building a fan base. And I hope you guys will check this book out too, because it's like I said, it's number one. It's only been out for a few weeks now. So, it's a superhero end of the world war book, and I didn't think I'd ever be interested in a book like this, but they did so many things to draw me in that I'm hooked. I'm ready for issue 2. I just hope it doesn't suck. That's going to do it for us, guys. I hope you had fun. I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to try to push these out a little more frequently. And now that I have the studio all set up, just got to sit down here, record. I have a lot of plans for the future here. Me and a friend here thought about doing a whole new series coming up. So keep your eyes peeled, guys. Fresh Death Comics is on the rise again. And hopefully, stick around for the ride. We're going to have fun. That's all I'm going to say. It's going to be a fun journey. So, see you guys next time. Have fun. Bye.